Today's the day we're going to start working on a new player controller. So let's come into our scripts, and I'm on the player. And this is the default script we get right from, well, the character body 2D that we created. I'm going to keep everything it has here, and I'm just going to change some stuff as I go through. The first thing I want to do is I want to be able to export my speed out into the inspector over here on the player. And I can't do that with a constant. Now, as we talked about in class, a constant is just a variable that you can never change. And I don't want that. I do want to be able to change it. So I'm going to switch this to an export variable, and I'm not going to call it speed. Now, when I use the word speed, for instance, if I had move speed, to me, the word speed means I'm going to be moving in pixels across the screen. Since we're doing all of this with physics and we're affecting the velocity, I like to call it force. Just so it's that mental reminder that, hey, this is being applied to the velocity. Speed gets applied to the position. And I'll keep the 300 for now. I may need to tweak it, but that's fine. So because I changed it, I've got a few errors. That's good. I can copy and paste it. Just come down, paste over these. Give it a quick save. And we can see that it's exposed up here. And functionally, it should be just the same. So let's go ahead. We'll play it. And I want to be able to add some sort of dampening to his movement. So when I first start moving, I want it to kind of accelerate, not move at that linear speed. So as soon as we hit the button to move, it's automatically 100%. And when we let go, he just stops instantly as well. If you ever came from Unity, we had the dampening when we moved stuff. And I want to add that back into here. So underneath move, I'm going to export a couple more variables here. And the first one I'm going to grab, I'm going to call it movement acceleration. And I'm just going to start this off at maybe half. Be careful what you click on your keyboard. He's always listening. And then I'm going to make another one here, which I'm going to call move damp. This is what's going to slow me down. And I'll just keep it the same value for now. And I do like to have that leading 0. So how do we apply these? Well, I'm going to come down to where I move here. So if direction, and the direction that we calculate is right here. And that's another thing we should change. We shouldn't be using these UIs. We should make up our own actions. And we'll do that right after we're done this. So if we have a direction, that means we're pushing at least one of these buttons. We're going to affect our velocity X. And we're going to change this. There's a new function that we have. It's called move towards. And the way this works is we're going to take it from one spot to another. And if we want to know, remember, we can always hold down Control and click on Move Towards. This will bring up the documentation, and it tells you want to move from one to the other by some sort of delta. I'll come back into my player. So the first spot we want to move from, which is just going to be our current velocity X. And then we have our to direction, which is just going to be that direction. Actually, we can just use this here. Direction times move force. And then for that delta, we're just going to use move force multiplied by our walk. What do we call it again? Acceleration, move excel. We'll close that off. I'm going to shrink some of these down just so we can see it a bit better. Let's close this in. There we go. I'm just going to quickly save this off, and we should be able to see that acceleration now. We won't start off at 100% speed. And you let go. It still stops at 100%. It goes from whatever speed we're at right to a dead stop. But when we start now, it takes a little bit before we get to that maximum speed. Feel free to play around with the numbers and get the acceleration that you want. Maybe you want a little bit faster, a little bit slower. You can also play around with these too if you wanted to make something, let's say you have ice on the ground and you want your character to slide quite a bit on it. You could set up some sort of area 2D or even do it through some layers and affect the dampening, which we're going to work on next. So I'm going to come back down here to where we're moving on velocity X. We already have the move towards. The from is still the velocity dot X. The to is still 0. We want to come to a stop. But now we want to take the force, the move force, multiply it by the move damp. And again, save it off. Let's give it a quick test. We might need to play around with those values. So when I let go of the movement key, I slide just a little bit. Not bad. I think it's fine. Again, you can dial this in exactly how you want it for your game. Every game is going to be a little bit different. All right, let's work on the jump. If I go ahead and start this up again, And if I press the space bar, even if I hold it all the way down, it jumps to its maximum height. Even if I just slightly touch it, it always goes to that maximum height. I want to change that so that if I just press it down for just a split second, it doesn't go all the way to the max height. So you can have variable jump heights. But before I do that, let's go fix all of these UIs. So we can come into project settings, bring that over here. We come to input map. And I want one that's move, left, move, right, jump, and I'm going to have another one called shoot. We haven't done this one yet. We can work on that in the future tutorial. All right, so we've made our actions. This is what they're going to be called. If we click on it, or better yet, click on the plus, we can assign a key. So what I want to move to the left, I'm going to use the A key. And we can see up here, it tells us what key we picked. I'm going to hit OK. It'll show us under here. Move right. I'm going to use the D key. Jump. I'm going to use the space bar. And shoot. For this one, I want to go to the left mouse button. And right there. Hit OK. Now we've gone over this in class, but I don't think I've done it in video yet. We can assign more than one action or one key to the action here. So if we came in, pressed here, let's say I also want to do, I don't know, the Z key for whatever reason. Keep in mind we can bind more than one key to this action. This comes in handy when you want to start putting in, let's say, controller. Maybe you've got an Xbox controller. You want to start play testing with that. If you've got that hooked up to your computer, you can put that in. And of course, if you get one you don't like, trash can gets rid of it. So I've got my movements set up here. These three I really need right now. I'll just close it. And I'm going to come in and change some of this. So to jump, we no longer use UI accept. And if you deleted the whole thing and just put the quotes in, you'll get all of those actions. I want jump. And I already know this was move left, move right. And I believe that's it. Let me just do a real quick check here. Right and left. Those work, and my jump's working. Okay. I'm also going to increase my jump force. I don't like how much that is. Well, let's come back up here. Again, we have a constant. That means we can't change it. I do want to be able to change it. And I like it to be exposed, so I'm going to make it a variable. It is not going to be capitalized because it's not a constant. And I'm going to stick to the force. And it just dawned on me, I didn't type any of these. My bad. Remember to always type your variables. There's very few instances I could ever think of where you would not want to type them. There we go. Now keep in mind too that when we apply a force up in our 2D for Godot is a negative. I'm going to increase this. Let's add 50% more. So 600. Again, test all your changes. Well, because I changed the name, I've got to fix that, which is fine. Copy jump force. There we go. And I think that's the only spot we're using it right now. And when I jump, that's better. I can actually probably make it over the flag now without actually picking it up. Hey! All right. So, how do we get it so that we don't jump at full power all the time? Well, we're going to come to here where we handle the jump. And on this first part, we're going to leave it here. So we're checking to see if they've pressed the jump key and our character is currently on the floor. Later on, we could work with wall jumps. There is another method, and I believe it is on wall. Yeah, so we have a lot. We can even check to see, do something special if we're on the ceiling. But if we wanted to add wall jumps, we could do that as well. Not in this one. I'm going to come down to this line here where we have the velocity. We're just applying the jump force, and I'm just going to leave that there. What I want to check is when they release the jump. When they do that, I want to start applying that damp. So I can say if input dot is underscore action, and this time I'm looking for the release. Now I want to know if it's just release, so this frame. And if it is, and our current velocity on the Y, if it is less than 0, that means we're currently moving upward. I want to go ahead and start subtracting something from it. And that will stop us from going all the way to the top of our jump. I did not put anything up here for it, so let's add that now. So again, I'm going to export this. It's going to be a variable. I'm going to call it jump damp. It's dampening our jump, which is going to be of type float. And let's start off at 0.05, again, season to taste. And let's spell jump right. I'll come back down to here. And now I can say that our velocity dot y is going to be equal to whatever our current velocity is, dot y, multiplied by that dampening. There we go. We'll save this off. We'll come in. Let's do a couple test jumps. So full power. We're still getting all the way up there, but I just do a little jump. There we go. Then we can play around with the gravity as well, just to bring us down a little bit quicker. But that's it for our character physics for today. We've got our jumping being dampened and our jump as well. And there is one thing I wanted to fix. It popped up in the last video, and I didn't want to fix it then because we were working on something else. But of course, now I forget what it was. Ah, the level flag. When we touch the flag, let's run it. We're getting a deferred error. Right down here, if we stop it, and we go look at it. Now again, we've gone over this in the classroom, but I don't think I've done it in a video yet. And what's happening is that we're trying to remove some sort of collision object before the collision loop has finished, and that can cause errors. So what it wants us to do is use this call deferred. And when we do this, it's going to wait to the end of the frame before it gets rid of it, so we don't get the error. And I've already typed the line in up here. So again, we still have the get tree. There's a few different ways to call this. I like using the get tree.callDeferred, and then we're passing in the name of the method that we wanted to call, which was down here. And then the value we wanted to call gets passed in at the end. Take note though that when we call the method, it's always a string. And if I save this off and we go run it, when I hit that flag, it should work. Boom, there we go. And no error. Okay, that's it for this one. As always, if you have any questions, let me know down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.